Hey guys, what's going on? Jeff here from Films at Home, and today I got another 4K review to do for you all. We're going to be taking a look at another classic title, like Apocalypse Now, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Schindler's List, and now today, one of the most requested reviews that I've had, and one of the movies I've been most looking forward to check out on 4K. I've got the Bridge on the River Kwai 60th Anniversary Edition. Super excited to let you guys know what I thought about this, talk about the 4K video, the audio, and all the special features and packaging. And so I'm going to let you know if it's worth an upgrade over the Blu-ray. Again, the Blu-ray is very good. I own it. And it's definitely time to look at upgrading the DVD, in my opinion. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about, upgrading and talk about all the different visuals and audio stuff in this review. So if you enjoy things like that, please subscribe to the channel. Make sure you turn on notifications. That way you know when new videos go live like this one. And with that being said, let's jump into this review. So Bridge on the River Kwai, I could talk about the movie, for a while. 1957 won, I want to say, 7 Oscars. It won Best Director, Best Picture, won all like the major categories. Best Actor for Alec Guinness, won basically everything, right? 7 Academy Awards is a ton. And it's one of those rare cases where the Academy Awards actually picked a good movie, and you go back 60 years later and you say, oh yeah, that won Best Picture, that deserved it. So it's a very good movie. If you like war movies, if you like World War II type stuff, you're going to really love this. It's hard to talk about. It's been out there for 60 years. I'm not going to give anything away if you haven't seen it yet. But it's a great movie. It's a little long. It's like 166 minutes. I want to see what the actual number is. Can't find it, but I think it's 161 minutes. And it was directed by David Lean. He did Lawrence of Arabia. And so it's that type of movie. It's an epic. It's big, large scale stuff. And so that's why I was excited to check it out in 4K. Because this is one of those movies that gets shown on 35 millimeter and was shot in that cinema scope and has a really nice presentation. Now the 4K, I'll get this out of the way, it's the best that this movie's ever looked. So if you have a DVD, get rid of that. If you've got your Blu-ray, this is an upgrade. Now the interesting thing with this is that a 4K remaster was actually done in 2011 for the Blu-ray. And so there isn't much detail on what this remaster is. They do say it was remastered in 4K. I don't know if it's a new transfer, if it's an old transfer. They would have had to add HDR color grading to it, so that may be what's new. But it's hard to tell whether it's a brand new visual transfer outside of the HDR if they're using the same scan they used in 2011. Either way, the upgrade in resolution here to 4K is a huge selling point, and it does wonders for the movie. There are going to be some moments that are a little fuzzy, a little blurry. You've got to remember, this movie is 60 plus years old. And so there's set pieces that look kind of odd, and there's some camera focus issues. You'll see some stuff go out of focus, in focus. And yeah, that's going to look a little rough in 4K because you've got more resolution to play with. And so when you go out of focus, it's even that much more apparent. But that's just a matter of, it is what it is. That's the times. They were playing around with new cameras. They didn't know what they were, 100% doing with some of this new technology. They were trying new things, and so that happens. So you're going to see some of those moments. But the HDR color grading is great. There's a lot of scenes that take place in the jungle, obviously, and so the greens, the lush greens of the jungle, so much better. On the Blu-ray, they kind of look a little washed out, whereas on the 4K disc, I see a lot more green popping off the screen. I want to say on my projector, I did see more grain than I did on my 4K TV. That's partly also due to the fact that it is a projector that is doing a pixel shift to 4K. So if you have a true 4K projector, that may even out a little bit better. But my 4K TV, the Samsung QLED, the Quantum Dot, looked really great. You're definitely going to get grain. It's, again, shot on film. It's 60 years old. Don't expect a crisp, clean image like you're going to get with something like, say, John Wick 3, which comes out next week. You're not going to get this crisp, clean image like that. It's going to show its age, but it looks beautiful, and it's a huge upgrade over the Blu-ray, in my opinion. And so being able to get this title for, $10, $12, I would think, on eBay, is a no-brainer in terms of visuals. This did come out in 2017, so The 4K disc itself is almost 3 years old. It was one of the early 4K titles that Sony did because they had a 4K transfer already, and they did a great job with it. No doubt about it. It's it's very good, just like Close Encounters. They did a great job with the remastering. Did a great job with the 4K transfer, and so the visuals. If you're still watching this on DVD, you're going to be blown away. And even if you do have the Blu-ray, I have a collector's edition, which is really nice. I may keep the packaging for that because I really like it and it has some extra stuff, but there's no reason for me to ever watch the Blu-ray again when the 4K is this good. Now for the audio, that's another interesting thing, is that they've added Dolby Atmos audio. And so if you're a purist, you may say, well, this was never intended to be, on a Dolby Atmos sound. You're not supposed to mess with that stuff, blah, blah, blah. Personally, I don't care. If there's an upgraded technology that we can apply to an older movie, I say do it, because I think that 60 years ago, the director would have done the same thing. If he was given the opportunity, Dolby Atmos is the perfect mix for a movie like this. War movie, lots of stuff going on. There are explosions, and so this track, because it's upmixing from, older sound elements, turning them into a Dolby Atmos, there are some weird moments with dialogue. There are some kind of dull moments that you think would pop a little bit more. The Atmos effects are nice, but they are a little more subtle compared to, again, something like John Wick 3, where you're going to get a full Atmos track that'll blow you away. This is much more subtle. They have to pick and choose kind of when those height effects come into play. And it's a bigger process to do it with a movie like this, where you're taking an older score and an older sound effects and all that dialogue and turning that into a Dolby Atmos track. That being said, it is very good. It does have a 7.1 True HD Dolby source, so if you don't have Atmos, you're at least getting that. And for my international folks out there, because I get this question a lot and I always forget to mention it, but Subtitles, this has literally everything. Check this out. For the 7.1 track, you've just got English. Okay, but if you go to a 5.1 DTS HD, still a very good track. You got Czech, French, German, Hungarian, Italian, Japanese, Polish, Portuguese, Russian, Spanish, Castilian, and Spanish Latin American. And then in 5.1 Dolby Digital, they include Danish, Dutch, Finnish, Slovak, Turkish, Thai, Swedish, Korean, Italian, Norwegian. It's the most subtitles I've ever seen on a disc. And this is region free, so if you're looking for something that has the subtitles you need and has the audio you want, here you go. Bridge on the River Kwai. Sony, pumped it out there. I assume back in the day that this was fairly widespread, considering it's a World War II movie. It focuses on both Japan and the British English side of things. I'm sure it got a worldwide release, and so that's probably the reason there's so many subtitles. That and the fact they've had 60 years to build them out. But that's just kind of a cool note if you are looking for subtitles and you are watching this internationally, because I do get that question a lot. So that's sort of the audio. It's very good. Visuals, I would say, are a better improvement than the audio. The existing 5.1 DTS HD track on the Blu-ray was very solid. And so this isn't as noticeable an upgrade, but the visuals are where you're really, really getting the upgrade. And that's what's going to make it worth it, especially for 10, 12, even 15 bucks. If you can trade in your Blu-ray, and you'll probably get $5 or $6 for that. Now this makes it a $10 purchase, and for that, it's well worth it. Now, packaging, I believe at one point there was a slipcover, but I literally bought this last month, so I don't have one. It isn't a Sony clip case. Sony always does this with their Blu-rays. They have this little clip that holds the case tight. And then it's pretty standard kind of boring stuff on the inside. No disc art, anything like that, just 2 discs. And then kind of cool, the old 4K. Keep an eye out for new titles on 4K like Spider-Man 2. The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which was just coming to 4K. And now we've already got 2 other Spider-Man movies that are on 4K. So it's kind of nuts. So packaging, pretty basic, nothing crazy. I do like the artwork on the front. And then special features, most of this, if you have the Blu-ray or even the DVD, it is all ported over. There's one new feature, which is like a 7-minute, it's like a quick featurette, interview with Alec Guinness and William Holden, which is new, so that's kind of cool. It's in HD, but the rest of it's existing stuff. If you don't know about it, there is audio of William Holden narrating the premiere. There's some picture and graphics tracks about crossing the bridge. And there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff. I shouldn't say a lot. There's maybe 30, 40 minutes of special features here, including the new stuff. You got about an hour of special features. So it's not overwhelming, especially for like a 60th anniversary release. But again, 1957, how much behind the scenes footage and interviews and stuff survived? Not much, obviously. And so you get what you get. Overall, I think it's well worth the purchase. As I said, this is a very nice transfer. Sony did another great job with this one. They've really been doing an incredible job with the older catalog titles, getting them out on 4K and also getting really good video and audio transfers onto the 4K disc. So props to Sony for that and working on these older titles. And it's a 35 millimeter film. You know, if you've ever seen a film print of it, this probably will look better because it's cleaned up, it's restored, the film prints are old. And so it is, in my opinion, this is as good as this movie can look. Unless you found an absolutely pristine 35 millimeter negative, whatever Sony used to do the remaster is as good as you're going to get. There are some touched up moments, but for the most part, they left it alone. They left in the fuzzy shots, the out of focus stuff. It is what it is. That's what makes it an old movie. That's what gives it character. That's how it shows its time and its age. And so I'm not worried about that, but it's as good as it's ever looked. It does blow the Blu-ray away, especially because of the HDR. That's so helpful with getting a better picture. And the fact that there's Dolby Atmos here, it's a no-brainer if you're a true home theater enthusiast with the whole 4K Atmos setup, that you're going to want to go grab this one. It's a great movie. No complaints about that. It's an absolute classic. One of the greatest movies ever made. And so, in my opinion, well worth the purchase, especially it being almost 3 years old. You should be able to grab it in that $10 to $15 price range. Check eBay, check used listings. That's where you may find it for an even better deal. So, in my opinion, yes, Bridge in the River Kwai 4K is worth the upgrade. So thanks for watching this video. That was a little 4K review for you. We're going to be jumping into some more 4K reviews next week. John Wick 3 comes out. I'm a massive John Wick fan, so stay tuned for that one. Also got some cool stuff going on in The Room that I want to talk about. Won't be soon, but it's coming down the line here in the next few months. And lots of great 4K titles and re-releases that I've talked about. Stuff like Wizard of Oz that I want to check out. It's a Wonderful Life. We're getting some really old movies now, which is really cool. Stuff from the 30s. In the 40s. So that's interesting. I want to see what those transfers turn into. So make sure you subscribe, turn notifications. That way you know when those videos go live. And make sure to follow me on Instagram. A lot of you guys have been finding me on Instagram and saying, oh, I've been following you on Instagram. I didn't know you had YouTube, and vice versa. So follow me on Instagram. It's a great place to get in touch. Send me a message. I'll help you out with whatever questions you have. And then also make sure to check out the merchandise and go through some of my Amazon links if you want to buy anything from my room. I've got a 4K Blu-ray store, as well as links to home theater seating and shelving and my projector, receiver, all my different components. If you buy them through Amazon, you help support the channel, so I appreciate that. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I will talk to you soon.